running for mayor of Toronto. What memories do you have of your time in Edmonton as councillor?
Well, as someone working for social change, I have fantastic memories of my 3 years on council, by and large, and it was a time when we were able to collectively raise the issues of ecological sustainability, of social justice, of democracy, and effectively move the agenda forward in a massive way. And really, I think, affected the culture, the political culture, and the social culture of Edmonton in a very positive way. And I'm still getting emails from people, in Edmonton and elsewhere, people who are kind of smiling and happy in their emails about what we did together. It's fantastic to me that, first of all, I managed to get elected in Edmonton, given, and the pundits never would have expected it. I was and still am a very outspoken environmental activist, with strong views, with a high media presence, not afraid to speak my mind, not afraid to challenge the powers that be, to put forward alternatives that on first blush might not seem practical. But I've been sitting in the council chambers here in Toronto City Hall over the last few days, and I'm so gratified at how often the word Edmonton keeps coming up. These councillors are wrestling with their garbage problem. What are they going to do about it? And over and over and over again, councillors are saying, we need to look at Edmonton. Mayor Lastman is going to Edmonton to find out how Edmonton did it. The media are talking about the Edmonton solution. Edmonton is being held up as the way that we could be handling our garbage here in Toronto, rather than dumping it in the Adams mine and polluting the water and going to war with the Northerners. Who needs that? The alternative, the other track, there's two tracks here, we're at a crossroads really. We could easily switch on to the Edmonton track that everybody seems to be aware of. Well, not to make, to pat myself too much on the back, but I remember very clearly in 1993 when Edmonton City Council sat down with the administration of the city at a retreat, a private retreat, and the administration said to us, the Orem dump was a fiasco. It cost millions of dollars, and it got stopped dead in its tracks. The administration said, we have to build another landfill, and we have to build it soon. This is exactly what the administration in Toronto was saying. And I sat, and they had a plan, a 15-year plan, I think it was. And it was to build a new landfill in the next few years, and then 10 or 15 years down the road to start some large-scale composting happening. And I sat there and said, hang on a second. Why can't we do composting now? Why can't we forego the expense and the negative ecological impacts of a new dump and just jump right to composting sooner rather than later? And to their credit, to the credit of the other councillors and the administration, they considered that idea, and they went back and did some more homework and prepared reports. Make a long story short, Edmonton moved into the new millennium, really. Instead of doing things the old way, of dumping our garbage in a hole in the ground and hoping that it disappears, which it never does. It always comes back to haunt us. Instead of doing that, they moved on to the ecological path and into the new millennium and embraced composting as a solution. And now you have Edmonton leading the country with 70% of its residential waste being diverted from landfill, being composted or recycled. And it proves to me that it can be done. And people who today are saying Toronto can't do it are just wrong. Toronto can do it. And the debate continues, and hopefully Mr. Lastman will go to Edmonton next week rather than continue with the debate. Go to Edmonton and learn from the administration and from Mayor Smith how Edmonton did it, and just make the switch. Because I think at a crisis point, the Chinese word for crisis includes the word opportunity in Chinese, the written Chinese word for crisis. And it's so true. I mean, at a crisis point, the opportunities are there staring in the face. And it takes some leadership and some leadership and some chutzpah sometimes to really say, okay, we were wrong. We need to move on in a different direction. And maybe just add one other small story. I mean, there was one member of the administration in Edmonton who did that. And you know, I was battling them often. I was pushing them on many occasions. But the head of the water department, the water branch, I should say, when I said, look, instead of building a new water treatment plant at a cost of over $300 million, and I discovered this cost in the budget documents shortly after I was elected in October of 1992, the 1993 budget documents arrived, and they were this thick. I mean, this is, you know, a foot-high pile of documents with line by line, you know, expenditures. And I just flipped through them, and if anything was less than $1 million, I didn't even look at it, and started to see where the big chunks were being spent, and discovered that $300 million were about to be expended to expand the water treatment plant. And I started asking questions. You know, what about water conservation, water efficiency? What about low flush toilets? Now, no politician is going to cut a ribbon on a low flush toilet, right? I mean, that doesn't work for politicians. You know, they want to be there at the big new $300 million plant and the pipes and so forth. We're going to cost $300 million. I said, what about the simple solutions? And to his credit, Mr. Davis, okay, made, you know, after pressure and this debate for a number of months and a special committee being set up, and the committee came back and said, Gomberg's right. We don't need the new water treatment plant. We need some water efficiency. And he agreed and said, I was wrong. Let's make the switch. And that particular action, initiative that I took, with the help of other members of council, saved the city over $300 million. That's pretty substantial for politicians, and for a politician. And you know, not to complain, you know, about it, but the fact of the matter is, and you know, anyone in Edmonton could tell you this, that the media, in particular some of the print media, love to talk about some of the more unusual ideas that I put forward and make big headlines about them. But the fact that my initiative saved the city $300 million plus got virtually no mention. And it's, you know, it's not so much for myself that I'm telling this story. It's I really think that if we want to have a healthy democracy, we should be telling the stories about what's going on at City Hall, about the initiatives taken, the fact that ecology and economy are really two sides to the same coin. They're not at odds with each other. You do one right, you do the other one right. Those are stories that I think the public should hear about and should know about, and that would be good for our society. I truly believe. Cops are watching us.